Now I've just started on the front wheel. I've cleaned off the rim as best I can and shined it up. Same with the hub. This is what they're like before I start. That's the front section of that, the brake section. So I just have to figure out now. On the original there was only washers inside here. There was no spring washers. I presume that's because the spokes will probably keep it in place, but I'm going to double check it anyway. 81 6-inch motor M6 or M6 nuts, 5 of them. Scheibe, I'll have to figure out what that is. It's either a washer or a spring washer. I think it's probably just a washer. Now I'm after spoking the wheel. I have to through it and tighten it all up yet, and I have the hub and everything done, and I've cleaned off the axle, and I was just putting it on there to see, but it's not spinning very well for some reason. I'm not sure if I put the rear brake pads in front instead of at the rear, but anyway, I can deal with that later. That's the rear hub completed now, and axle, the whole lot cleaned, another part cleaned there, and I've 2 more up there and the rear shock there. So I have a few more to do, and I think there may be a few more inside in the other shed, but we'll get to them today, tomorrow, the day after. Now I ordered rubbers for these engine supports. They go on with the swing arm here, and it's 16 millimeters here and 23 mil to 24 mil there. And a friend of mine gave me a piece of heater hose. These things were too big, and apparently heater hose or petrol hoses in cars is 1623, 1624, which is perfect for what I wanted. So that's actually going to go on like that over that there, and it'll be perfect once I get it on, but I'll have to lubricate this to get it on. So I have to check which way they go on. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at the book and have a look and see which way they go. Now I've attached one of them, this side with the rubber inside in it. This is the other one with the rubber inside in it. I've had to do a lot of fiddling with it, foiling the metal and foiling inside in this thing with a round foil, and it's still difficult to get in, but if I persist with it there now, I'll get it on, hopefully. Now I finally got the 2 of them on. It was very difficult and took a lot of time. It's not an easy process. So now the swing arm is in operation. Now I think that there actually may be, I'm not sure if there's a rubber goes in there. I think there possibly is, but I'm not 100% sure. It might become clear when I put on the suspensions. Just attached the rear suspensions there. The top of it there goes on with an M8 by 60, and the lower section goes onto the swing arm with M8 by 40. On the top one I've put on a nut and a shake-proof washer. It doesn't say anything about them on the book. They're the bolts, washers, the rubbers, spacer and another washer, but there's nothing about shake proof washers or spring washers or anything like that. There's a spring washer there on the section that holds the swing arm, alright. And they're the engine mounts that I put on yesterday. That's one of them there, and that's the other one with the rubbers that I got from a car hose, which was 16 internally and 24 millimeters outside. I've been working on the petrol tank there. I did a lot of filling smallish little holes and stuff like that on it, and I've put on a little template of paper there. I painted the tank the 9010 colour, which is kind of an off-white, so I've put on my template there over it because I had the whole tank painted white, the off-white colour, and now I put on the 3020, the red colour. I'm just a little bit worried that it's not coming out exactly the same as the colour on the bike itself, but maybe when it's up on it it'll look okay. That's powder coated, and I've spray painted that with spray cans, so once that's dry now I'll be able to take off the templates to show the white section and then put on the stencils. I'm after putting on the rear mud number plate there with the bracket going onto the mudguard itself. I put on the wheels yesterday with the tyres after they came back from being spoked. I've put on the seat. I'm just keeping it covered up to keep it clean. I've done the petrol tank. I'm waiting on pinstriping to come to do around that section there. I have the front wheel installed. I'm after installing the fuel petcock there as well. I cleaned out the tank as well this morning. I think that's about the update of it since I last did a video on it. I was waiting for the wheels. It took a long time to get them spoked, to get someone to spoke them for me. So that's it at the present time. This panel here goes on here. I'm not sure if it goes on now at the moment or whether I have to have the engine installed. I'll have to check and see what's involved in terms of fixing it in place. I think I can probably put it on now. I can always take it off again. And this is another engine support. It goes in there, I think. And I must just try and find the bolt for it and attach it. Now, it's been a long while since I was at this Zundapp Combinette 428, so I'm just actually doing the wiring on it there now as best I can. I must take off that back wheel to be able to do that, and then I'm working on the switch as well, the light switch. Now I'm after putting the switch on there. I had to turn the bike upside down to do it, but I also needed to turn it upside down to do the wiring. There's the black and the yellow wire coming off of the engine. Right, this is the wiring thing for a Zundapp Combinette. Not sure if it's 100% right. I do know that it's probably for a different model Combinette because there's a stop switch and a stoplight. We don't have that on this model, so there are 4 connectors here. I only need 3. So I've installed 3 connectors, and I've got a yellow wire and a black wire short connected onto it. They're only short pieces because there's a black and yellow wire coming off of the engine. So this is the engine, and that's the black and yellow wire coming off of the rotor and the electrical unit. So those 2 wires will connect on to those 2 wires on top of the engine. Right, so We have a black wire coming from the engine here, connecting onto the thing, so I've connected it there. That's the black one connecting from the engine, and from that then you must take a red wire to the headlight. So I have a red wire, and I've connected it to one of the poles. Not sure if it's right or not, but I've just connected it. We can always change it afterwards. Right, then we have a black wire going to the taillight. Now, I didn't want to use black, so I used a blue, and that's threaded all along there. It's along the mudguard. You can see it there going out into the taillight. It's just one wire. Right, to the taillight. And then we have to have a black wire going to another pole on the front switch. So I've taken the black wire, connected it on there. Again, I'm not sure if it's the right one or not, but it doesn't matter at the moment. Then we have the yellow wire coming off of the engine here, the yellow wire, and we have to have a grey wire going back to the headlight again. I'm not using grey, I'm just using a white wire. So I've taken it back there and connected it again. I don't know if it's connected to the right one or not, but we'll be able to solve that later on. So that's the basic wiring for the Zundapp Combinette 428. Now I'm attempting to put on the engine onto this bike. I'm going to have to take off that spring again. I attached it on there, but they look as if they've got something to do with holding the engine. I can't remember, it's been so long since I took it off. But this bracket goes on here. So it goes down over this here, and there's a long bolt that goes through. And there's this spacer on it, and this nut. So I'll tighten that up there now, and I'll try and offer it up to the bike. As I say, I must take off the spring. Right, I've taken the jack out there now, so it's just hanging there, but that's fine. It's easy to operate it now and push it up and down, I think. Right, I must take off the spring anyway first. I'm on my own, and I've got this jack here, and I've jacked it up, and I'm going to put in this bolt here. Hopefully it's lining up good enough, but of course it isn't. Right, I've got that bolt partially in there. It's not lining up properly. Now that bolt was a bit long, so I changed it to an M8 by 60, and I used the stainless steel one, so I can take the jack out now and hopefully be able to attach it onto the other parts down here. Yeah, that appears to go on down there. I think I'll actually take that plate off again. It does it need to be there? It does. I can't take it off. It's slightly in the way. Right, I've put the jack back in underneath it there, and it's actually two 65 8x65mm bolts that go through here, and the nut is already on the thing there. It's the same at the other side. I had to take off this because it's in the way. Now I finally got it on. I had to do a bit of grinding off of the things that the two bolts go into there because this was not allowing it to sit back and I couldn't bolt it properly. And then I bought this thing here. It's a kind of a plastic connection onto the carburetor which goes into the frame, and it was way too long, so I chopped a piece off of it and I taped it up, and I put a hose clip on it, the same as the hose clip there, to keep it on the carburetor. So hopefully that'll be okay. Right, I have the speedometer cable installed already, and I must connect it up onto the engine here. I'm just putting a grommet around it there to protect if there's any movement or anything like that on it. Now that's it connected up onto the gear there, and rubber grommet installed there as well, and the handlebars turn without any problem. So now these two wires that I kept to attach to the engine, these are the other two wires, so I'm going to attach them there now onto one of these things. So I've connected it up there with the connector block, and I left the wires the length they were just in case for any reason. Better to have them too long than too short. Now I just put the petrol tank back on again, and I left the wires out, but I can get them in. Okay. Right, that's that. Now, unfortunately, I must undo all the screws holding the other casing, so that means I have to take off the rotor as well. Because what I have to do is I have to put in two washers in the clutch pin, because it probably would be okay, but I just want to tighten it up a bit and get less play on it there. It's recommended between 1 and 2 millimeters, so we'll do that anyway. Now I put one washer inside and it's tightened it up completely. So the one washer, I had two of them, but there was too much, so the one washer did the job. Now I'm putting on this side panel here that goes on there like so, and I must tie it to the mudguard as well there, that spot. I think there's 6 by. I've installed that cover with the bolts, and I put the bolt onto the mudguard there as well. So I think what I have to do now is I have to start putting in some cables, and the first one I'm going to do is the throttle cable. Now I've installed the throttle, and it seems to be working reasonably well. So now I'm actually putting on the front brake. So this is the front brake cable. So now I've installed the handbrake, front handbrake. I don't like the way it's coming up there, but it seems to be the best way to install it. I suppose I'll get used to it. Just putting on the rear brake there, that part goes into that there, and there are 2 nuts that go on it. One nut locks on the other nut then. And at the back it goes through this mechanism here. There's a hole in that there, and then I put on the nut the wrong way around. I'm just putting this cover on there with its 2 screws. I bought gear cable for this Zundapp Combinette, but it really should have a curved section here for adjusting the gears. I'm using an NSU Quickly one that I have there that's obsolete, and it has an adjustment screw on it there, and it's going down into but it's just slightly too short to get out to here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this nipple off, take that out because that's not required, and I'm going to take the end cap off of that and cut it back a small bit. Well, I might cut it back I can afford to cut it back probably about 25 millimeters or more. Now I'm going to use this to cut off the nipple off the end of it. I'll have to use both hands, it's pretty hard. So now I've readjusted the end of it there and put the cap on it. And what I'm going to do then is put one of these bits on the end of it, and I should be able to get it in there then fairly tight so that I'll be able to adjust the gears. That's the gear change fixed. I can adjust it in further if I need to, but I have to put on the chain now and see if I can get it into different gears. Now, I was trying to figure out there what these things were for, and I have a little maintenance booklet belonging to the bike, and there's a groove on this here, and what they are is they're the chain tensioners. There's one at each side, so to tighten, to adjust the chain, you have to turn them, it says clockwise. Now, yeah, clockwise is that way. So I'm putting on the chain, so to get the chain on from here down to the sprocket here, I'm using a piece of wire. It's sort of falling down here. And I'm using the original chain, which is in good condition. So I'm going to tie it on there now and pull it through to the sprocket. So I've just pulled the chain there now onto the sprocket. I'll take off the wire now, and I must just adjust it so that I can oh yeah, actually I'll have to put on the wire on the other side of it now and pull it through the bottom. So I've got the two of them through there now, and I'm going to put on the connecting piece there to it. Now that's the connector in place there, so I can adjust the wheel now at the back. Now I'm putting on the rear chain cover there. There's a bolt goes through there, there's a nut inside already, and there's another one goes through here. It's an M5, and I'm putting a spring washer on it, and it goes on there. Now I've installed that rear cover there. I put back on the rotor cover and the engine cover there. What I am having trouble with is getting the gears. I can get first gear, neutral, and I can't get second gear, so there's some more fiddling to be done to try and sort that out. I'm just about to put on the exhaust pipe, and let's put on this gasket first. And the pipe itself. Right, I must tap it on there, and I'm going to put on washers and spring washers and 6mm nuts. Now I have the front section on. but the bending on it, I bought this as being for a Zundapp Combinette, but it's sticking out a lot. And I put this onto it. It's nowhere near, but it'll possibly bend back and I'll be able to tighten it on, but I'll need someone to help me to do that out. So now I'm after putting on this side piece here with two bolts, and there's a mechanism here that actually pushes down the pin on the top of the carburetor. And there's a spring in it which springs it back up. So now I'm going to put the other one at the other side. These are the bolts. Now before putting on this side cover, I must put on the petrol filter and connect up to this here, and it's got to be detachable, because if this cover has to come off, it needs to be detachable. I want to put a fuel filter there, so I'm not sure if it's actually going to work. I'll have a go and see if I can get it sorted, but I know this top part of the hose will have to go through this cover. So now I have to get the exhaust pipe on. I finally got it on. I had to bend this bracket to get it on, and I put a spring on the stand. What else did I do? I think that's about it. I just have to fix up the petrol hose onto it. I've seen one or two videos of Zundapp Combinette 428s, and the pipe doesn't go through here, so I'm going to have to take it in around there, I think. I'll see. I also put on the pedals. And I put on both of these kind of guards. So I think it's pretty much finished now, and that's how it looks. Now this is the Zundapp Combinette 428 finished.